Hello and welcome to Map Time for the Stretton Skyline route. I bought the Shropshire Way Cicerone guide, which shows the route and details it with photos and description, and also shows it marked on the small scale OS map. However, that's a bit small, doesn't show the detail we want, so I marked it out on my large scale OS map. So the Skyline route is around 20 miles long around the town of Church Stretton in South Shropshire. And the reason that it's in the Shropshire Way guidebook as an alternative is because the route was redesigned some years ago, and the hills that are in this Skyline route aren't actually part of the Shropshire Way, but well worth a visit and well worth climbing. So I think it's a great idea that they put this extra chapter in the book. Let's get started then. Well, the start is just next to the village of Alstretton and slightly into the hills up the little lane, and I park there, and then it's a nice gentle ascent, actually very flat, good grade, through this sinuous curvy path along this steep sided valley through an area called the Batches, and then climbed up through the contours up on the top here. And that's where I popped out on the top. Now from there, you're almost onto the enormous summit plateau of the Long Mynd, where you can have really good long distance views if the weather's clear. It was a little bit misty for me. It did clear up later, but it was just a case of pushing on the good contour and the good paths all the way along the top. And there are a couple of little alternative paths off to the left and to the right. I went along the top and eventually reached the summit called Pole Bank, which is there, where you have 360-degree views. Continuing on, after a short way, came to that place called Pole Cottage, that small copse of trees with a little shelter that was right there. And then along the road, very, very quiet road, being on top of the hill, for a short way before turning left and then heading over the hills all the way around the side of these hills on very nice contours, giving great views left and right and lovely walking. And eventually then down, steeply down the path into a place called Little Stretton, where the pub, the Green Dragon pub, was. You could park there actually. If I just zoom out a moment. You could park at the south end of the loop if you wanted to, and go either clockwise or anti-clockwise, but that's what I did. I parked up the north end, across the road, and then it goes steeply up. You can see these contours here to the Ragleth Hills. That's where I had my break there, with a great view looking back across the valley. Steeply up on top. Once you've had a little break to get your breath back, you can enjoy the views, and then the walking for the next mile or so is really nice along the tops here. This point here, that little corner, is where you can look down onto the town of Church Stretton and then look across around what you've walked and hiked so far. And I did the whole circuit in description from there on that shot, if you've seen that video. Then the path hooks sharply right and down the hill, and then circuits, or circumvents I should say, this Hasler Hill, the hill with the radio mast on top. And it goes around the lane, very quiet lane around to here, and this, where it crosses here, is the start of the next ascent up to the Gare Stone, which was that enormous rock sticking out where you get some really good views looking up to it, and also once you reach it and get slightly past it, looking back towards to see the layers of hills behind. And I got some great shots from there. Once again, there are 2 or 3 smaller summits, but it's nice walking across the top there. It's not strenuous at all. And then steeply down the other side to a fence line, and then you have to dip down around this smaller mound hill here, and then you have to go back on yourself and slightly downhill a little bit along a country lane to reach this well graded path, which climbs in a straight line all the way up Caer Caradoc. right to the summit where the summit rocks are. Great views from there as well. Plus the little cave actually is on the west side, immediately below the summit. If you just walk to the outer ring and then walk around the outer ring, you'll come to the cave. There it is, marked cave there, if you want to do that. So down the other side, past Little Caradoc, on the way towards the Lawley, which is here. Now there's a little loop around the little village of Comley. You can go either way on the way out or the way back, it's up to you. But they recommend that you walk along the bottom of the hill to the north end and then climb the hill and walk back. And I guess that's because then you get the great view of the entire walk that you've just done, and that makes sense. So it's a whale-back view, like the hull of an upturned boat, the shape of that hill. And then you're following the lanes then. Again, farmers' lanes, very quiet. Across the main road, that's a bit busy, but it's the only place that is busy. And then all the way back to Old Stretton and back to your car.